How to bankrupt a nation for $0. The terrifying economics of cyber warfare. The silent apocalypse. The economics of the invisible war. Imagine the start of a war. If you were born in the 20th century, your mind likely drifts to familiar images. You imagine the deafening roar of jet engines tearing through the sky. You picture the ground shaking under the treads of heavy tanks. You see smoke rising from the horizon, the chaotic noise of artillery, and the desperate movement of troops across a muddy field. For generations, this was the currency of conflict. It was loud, it was visible, and above all, it was incredibly expensive. But let us shift the scene to the present day. The room is quiet. It is a small, nondescript apartment, perhaps in a rainy city in Eastern Europe, or a humid basement in Southeast Asia, or a generic office building in a bustling metropolis. There is no roar of engines. There is only the hum of a computer fan and the rhythmic clatter of a keyboard. A young man, sipping an energy drink, presses the enter key. 3,000 miles away, the lights go out. Not just in a house, but in an entire state. Traffic signals die, causing gridlock. Hospital ventilators switch to backup generators. The stock market freezes. ATMs stop dispensing cash. Panic spreads, not because of an explosion, but because of a sudden, suffocating silence. The attacker has just inflicted billions of dollars in damage. He has crippled the economy of a sovereign nation. And the weapon he used cost less than a used car. Welcome to the new reality of cyber warfare economics. This is a world where the laws of physics no longer apply to conflict, and where the price tag of destruction has dropped to zero. The $2 million missile. To understand the terrifying nature of this new economic reality, we must first look at the old way of doing things. Let's talk about the Tomahawk land attack missile. It is a marvel of engineering, capable of striking a target with pinpoint accuracy from 1,000 miles away. It is reliable, terrifying, and effective. It also costs approximately $2 million per unit. If you want to destroy a power plant using traditional kinetic warfare, you need to launch that missile. But you cannot just buy the missile. You need a destroyer ship or a submarine to launch it. You need a crew of highly trained sailors to operate the ship. You need fuel, food, logistics, and maintenance. You need a satellite network to guide the weapon. When you add it all up, the cost of delivering that one blow is astronomical. And here is the kicker. Once you use the missile, it is gone. It explodes. If you want to hit another target, you need another $2 million. The economics of physical war are defined by scarcity and high marginal costs. Every bullet, every gallon of fuel, and every bomb costs money to produce and money to transport. Furthermore, firing a missile is an act of war. It leaves a heat signature. It has a trajectory. Everyone knows who fired it and where it came from. It invites immediate retaliation. It is a high-risk, high-cost investment. The zero-cost weapon. Now, let's look at the weapon of the digital age. Malware. Let's say you are a state-sponsored hacker or a member of a sophisticated cybercriminal syndicate. You want to target that same power plant. You don't need a ship. You don't need a crew. You don't need fuel. You need code. Writing a piece of sophisticated malware, like the infamous Stuxnet worm that sabotaged Iran's nuclear program, or the NotPetya ransomware that cost the global economy billions, does have an initial cost. It requires talent. You have to pay skilled programmers. You might need to buy a zero-day vulnerability on the black market, a flaw in software that the manufacturer doesn't know about yet. This might cost a few $100,000, perhaps even $1 million for a really good one. But here is where the economics shift dramatically. Once that code is written, the cost of replication is zero. Unlike a missile, which destroys itself upon use, a piece of malware can be copied infinite times for free. You can send it to one target, or you can send it to 10 million targets. The cost to you remains exactly the same. This is the concept of zero marginal cost. Imagine if a general could buy one tank and then press a button to instantly clone that tank 1 million times without spending another penny. That is the power of cyber weaponry. The asymmetry of damage. The most frightening aspect of this economic equation is the asymmetry. In warfare, we talk about the ratio of investment to damage. In 2017, the NotPetya cyber attack swept across the world. It was initially targeted at Ukraine, disguised as a tax software update. But code does not respect borders. It spread to multinational corporations, shipping giants like Maersk, pharmaceutical companies like Merck, and construction conglomerates. The total estimated damage was over $10 billion. Shipping ports stood still. Factories stopped producing medicine. The digital backbones of massive companies were wiped clean. And what was the cost to the attacker? A few $1,000s in server costs and the salaries of a small team of coders. The return on investment is incalculable. A physical terrorist attack or a bombing run might cause millions in damage. A cyber attack causes billions. It is the most efficient way to destroy value that humanity has ever invented. The target is trust. When we think of economics, we think of money. But the true currency of the global economy is trust. You trust that when you swipe your card, the bank knows your balance. You trust that when you flip a switch, the electricity flows. You trust that your medical records are safe at the hospital. Cyber warfare targets this foundation. Consider a targeted attack on the banking sector. A hacker does not need to steal the money. Stealing money is messy. It requires laundering and moving funds. A far more destructive goal is simply to delete the data. Imagine waking up one morning and your bank balance reads zero. Not just yours, but everyone's. The bank has no record of who owns what. Backups are corrupted. The data is just gone. In a kinetic war, if a bank building is bombed, the money and the records usually survive in digital clouds. But in a cyber war, the building stands perfect and pristine, yet the institution is dead. The panic that ensues would be far more destructive than any physical bombardment. People would rush the ATMs. Supply chains would halt because suppliers cannot be paid. The currency would crash. The attacker has effectively nuked the economy without splitting a single atom, the attribution problem. There is another economic factor that makes cyber warfare so appealing: the low cost of political fallout. If a nation launches a missile, it is a declaration of war. Ambassadors are summoned. Sanctions are imposed. Fleets are mobilized. But in cyberspace, the fog of war is thick. When a grid goes down or a bank is hacked, it can take weeks or months to figure out who did it. Was it a rival nation? Was it a criminal gang? Was it a lone wolf teenager? Was it a false flag operation designed to look like someone else? This plausibility of deniability lowers the political cost of the attack. Nations can wage war on each other's economies while shaking hands at diplomatic summits. They can bleed an enemy dry slowly, causing accidents, outages, and data leaks, all while denying any involvement. It is a cold war that runs hot in the server rooms. The defender's dilemma. Finally, we must look at the economics of defense. This is where the picture becomes truly grim. The attacker has a massive economic advantage. To be successful, the attacker only needs to be right once. They can try 10,000 phishing emails, 10,000 vulnerability scans, and fail 9,999 times. They only need one employee to click one bad link or one server to be unpatched. The defender, however, must be right 100% of the time. A bank, a power company, or a government agency has to secure every single laptop, every phone, every server, and every employee. They have to spend millions on firewalls, antivirus software, security operations centers, and training. It is an exhaustively expensive game of whack-a-mole. The defender spends millions to build a wall. The attacker spends pennies to find a crack in it. The economic burden is entirely on the victim. Conclusion. The future of conflict. We are standing on the precipice of a new era of human history. The wars of the future will not be decided by who has the most tanks or the biggest battalions. They will be decided by who controls the code. The barrier to entry for destroying a nation has never been lower. You do not need a Manhattan Project. You do not need a massive industrial base. You just need a laptop and the will to use it. As we build our world to be more interconnected, hooking up our toasters, our cars, and our hospitals to the internet, we are creating a larger and larger target. We are building a glass house in a world full of stones. The next time you read about a glitch in the banking system or a power outage that lasts a little too long, ask yourself, is this just a technical failure? Or is it the opening shot of a war that cost nothing to wage, but costs us everything to lose? The silence of the cyber weapon is its greatest strength, but the economic echoes of its impact will be heard for generations. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. See you soon.